This episode is brought to you by Curriculum Rehab by us, the team here at Brave New Teaching. It is the first and only teacher PD of its kind, a course to help teachers like you by guiding you through creating your own personal framework for curriculum. You make it work for you, your students, and your unique situation because nobody else knows what the kiddos in your classroom need the way that you do. Curriculum Rehab takes all of the resources available to you, all of the lessons, the assessments, the activities, all of the texts, everything that could possibly be there for you, and it helps you organize what you actually need in order to attain your teaching objectives. These are the strategies that Amanda and myself have used in our own classrooms, have developed over very long years of teaching and figuring things out, combined together to create this framework and these strategies that we can guide you through. This course will give you the tools you need for a complete curriculum overhaul or to start from scratch. Wherever you are on that continuum, it does it all for you and with you on your timeline. So start today, do a little bit more in a couple of months, and then pick it up next summer. It's Teacher PD the way it should be on your own time. Head to curriculumrehab.com/course for more information, or just head to the show notes for this episode. We cannot wait to see you there. It's finally time to take control of what goes on in your own classroom and create the curriculum of your dreams. All right, let's get back into the show. Well, hello and welcome back to Brave New Teaching. And friends, today we are not just welcoming Amanda, we're also welcoming our good friend Megan. Hello, friends.
Hello.
Hey, hey.
We are excited to talk today about 3 new books that we think belong in classroom libraries. And the conversation we just had before we started recording was a bit spicy. You know, bonds were tested, relationships were pushed to their limits, because when you get a few English teachers talking about books and having to limit our choices of what we're going to share, it gets dicey. I mean, don't just take it from me. What do you ladies think?
Oh, no, we immediately started fighting over the ideas that,
I'm sorry. No. Let's pause. Did we start fighting, or did Amanda start fighting? And Megan and I said, oh, okay. Is that how you feel? Okay.
We threw a white flag real quick.
Real fast.
Fine, you can have it. Yours.
Yeah.
It's yours.
Stop yelling at us. You know my mother. Stop cursing her name. Yeah, it was weird.
Wow.
But how about the fact
and there we go. Under the bus.
We all 3 had the same book.
Yeah.
We did.
What it comes down to is the fact that we all have the same taste, because we had the same book that we wanted to share. And you're going to get that book plus 2 others today.
Wild.
Yeah. And friends, as we are getting into sharing these books that we think belong in your classrooms, we will talk about, kind of where we think they belong. Is it all class? Is it Lit Circle? Is it just in classroom library so that kiddos who need that story can find that story and bring it into their lives? We also have more, like we said. So make sure that you're following us on social media, because we will continue to share books and other things as much as we possibly can. All right.
Well, I'm going to come in with wait a second. I have to give everyone a reminder.
Sorry.
Come on, Marie.
Sorry.
I want to pass along the reminder that when you go to today's show notes, there will be a list of other related episodes.
Yes.
So if you are in the realm of looking to refine your independent reading program or whatever you're doing at your school, we've got a lot of really good interviews that'll be listed. There will be a lot of other episodes linked to this one. So be sure you always go to the show notes. You never know what you're going to miss out on when you don't go to the show notes.
It's true.
That's all I had to say.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay, Marie?
Okay, everybody, we're going to cheers our books, even though it's not a happy hour episode.
Ooh.
I feel like it would just be a way to do it. Okay. Books up. We're going to say,
oh, I didn't bring mine.
That's okay. No one else knew that but us. But now you've really let the cat out of the bag. All right. Cheers. Books. Yay. Cue the music.
Yay.
You're listening to Brave New Teaching, and we are so much more than a podcast.
We give teachers the inspiration, support, and tools to challenge the status quo.
I'm Amanda, and I'm a former English teacher from Illinois.
And I'm Marie, and I'm a teacher from Southern California.
Join us at bravenewteaching.com to find out more about our courses, festivals, and get every episode's show notes.
We're so glad you're here. Enjoy the show. All right, friends, let's share choice of books. Who wants to go first? Who's feeling it? I actually had kind of a hard time even getting to the one that all three of us chose. And then beyond that, it was faster and easier because I was like, oh, I had all these other ideas. So it was easier to go find another one. But like, I had a hard time because a lot of what I read is not suited for classroom consumption. And so I had to like go, okay, wait a minute. Let's put that cap back on. What have I been reading lately? I've just been in a season of just reading for me. And normally I'm a little bit more balanced because if I just read for the classroom, I get irritated by like, ugh, I'm only reading one thing. And if I just read for me, I go, oh, right, there's kids too. And I like have to see them every day. They're asking me what to read and I don't remember anymore. So like the balance is hard to find. I have not been balanced because it's beginning-ish of the school year. So I haven't really been thinking about what the kids are reading yet.
I think Megan should go first. And Megan, I think you should also tell people like what you're teaching this year and like what you're up to. For those of you who don't remember Megan, she's been on the podcast a couple times, but she's more often been responding to your emails and helping you out. She is our glorious executive assistant, brilliant, amazing human being who's also a full-time teacher. So Megan, I think the people deserve to hear what you've been up to and your book rack.
Yes.
All right. So I also struggled the same, Marie. I have been reading for my own and just reading to help myself go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were talking about this episode, I was like, oh yeah, I have to go back and look at my classroom library and make sure that I know what it is that I'm looking at. So I am teaching full time. It's a lot of fun. I started teaching 8th grade this year, which is my first time teaching in the classroom, just 8th grade students. But I still continue to teach 7th grade. So I've got 2 classes of 8th grade ELA, 2 classes of 7th grade ELA. And then because life wasn't fun enough, I decided to start a new class where we are challenging our high achieving readers and writers to branch out and explore language arts in a higher capacity. So that's been a lot of fun to create and put together as well, which I did do a lot of book research then, which led me to the book that I'm going to recommend today, because in middle school, the students get into World War II on a whole deep level.
Oof.
And they all become obsessed with World War II. And it's a fun adventure with them. But there's so many stories that have not been told. And this one is one that goes into, and I'm showing you in the videos, though you're going to see it, but it is The Enigma Girls. It's by Candace Fleming, and she has written a couple other books for middle grades. One of hers is Crash from Outer Space, The Unraveling. And then there's also one that she did about King Tut. So she's done a bunch of other nonfiction stories, but The Enigma Girls is going to take you through, I believe it's 10 teenage girls. So they're like 18, 19, and they are supporting the, if you've read the Rose Code,
Mm-hmm.
these teen girls are supporting their work and keeping everything going. So when the people who got all of the claim to fame are sleeping and, brainstorming, these girls are doing all of the work to keep the lights on and keeping all of the machines running. So it's fascinating. What's even cooler is there's so many pictures all throughout.
That's so cool, though. Like,
yeah. So they get to learn all about these girls and their vital work to the cause, but then also, and like how they got there, what that process was like. And all the while they're getting all of these pictures. Like this one's a London family loses everything but their lives after a German bombing. And it's just this family sitting in the rubble.
Oh my gosh.
Just like looking. And it's just this still, So it's fascinating just to get to like flip through the book, which has so many, ways that they can add to a classroom discussion because the kids are just thumbing through.
Mm-hmm.
It's even got like Normandy troops storming the beaches and stuff. So fascinating.
Okay.
Yeah. That's so cool.
It's so I just finished the Rose Code. My book club read it while I was out of town when we were in Florida. And I was like, I still wanted to read. Rose Code has got very high ratings on Goodreads. And I loved it. It was really good. It's not my favorite historical fiction, but that's kind of hard to hard to get there when you got Ruta.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, it's pretty hard, especially in your book, to get above anyone that's in competition with Ruta Sepetys is not going to hold a candle, you know?
But it was awesome. And when I was thinking about it, I was like, ooh, but I wouldn't put Rose Code in my classroom library. I think the Rose Code's very much more, I think it would be really boring for kids. Not that it's inappropriate. It's just kind of,
it's just not accessible. Yeah. In the way that you want it to be.
I love that suggestion, Megan. And I think Marie and I were definitely going to add the Bletchley Riddle, which is a Ruta Sepetys new book, but it's not available yet. It's coming in October. So next month, you're going to hear from us and our latest interview with Ruta and her writing partner, Steve Shinkin, because they co-wrote this middle grades novel. So that one is very different from what you've described, Megan, but still that period of history, super engaging for kids.
Mm-hmm. I'm interested because I haven't gotten my hands on the Bletchley Riddle yet, but this one's taking place at Bletchley Park.
Yeah.
So I am wondering, like, what sort of parallels there'll be in here. So
probably a lot.
Oh yeah. And what a cool, like, even, I mean, it would take a special kid and a special reader to read, I think, both in the same year, but like 100%. For the younger grades, but like my kid would do that and he would just eat it up. I mean, my kid's very special. I heard the way I just said that. I'm just saying that is something that, like, the kid who is really, I heard it. You didn't even have to make the faces. Like, after reading one, with how into historical fiction he is, and like Megan, you were saying, you know, the kids are getting, like, they get really into these historical stories. I think that would be something really cool for kids who have the time and have the drive to do that.
Yes. And having those books that are well written, well researched.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And I can see, you know, having Enigma girls with the Bletchley Riddle, like being able to see those pictures and then putting the story, like having these two pieces together. That's the class that I am doing with my enrichment. Like, those are those type of goals that we're getting to, giving them the time and the space, because you're right. Like, on their own, they don't necessarily always have that time and space.
Right.
But in a well-crafted classroom.
Exactly.
Well, I think it's smart too. If we're going to talk about classroom libraries, I think it's smart to keep your finger on the pulse of what's popular, because the worst thing that's happened to me is like, okay, I finally got these kids hooked. Now they're asking for something else similar and I don't have it. You know, like when you kind of hit that wall, even, you know, with that popular genre, I always want to make sure I have the next thing to hand to a kid. So this is great to add another one to the popular pile.
Yeah. No, that's totally true.
Okay, Marie.
Okay, mine is because Amanda stole it. No, okay, I have been talking about it a little bit here and there on social media and on the podcast, but I'm going to be putting together a new fantasy unit in my American literature course. And the essential question, I mean, you guys are going to hear all about it here on the podcast. So if this is your first time here, welcome. We do things in real time. The essential question is going to have to do with escape. Why do we pursue? Why do we look for escape from reality, frankly? And so looking at American fantasy authors, and that's going to like lead into the American dream, if I do it right. And so I want some contemporary stories. It's going to be a choice novel unit. So I've got some choice novels. Many of those are pretty familiar or things that we've talked about before. But in order to have stories that can anchor the whole class together, where we're not all reading a whole novel, I've got a collection of short stories. And so this is actually a collection of short stories from We Need Diverse Books. It's an anthology. Not all of the authors here are American, so I'll just be using some of them. But these sorts of anthologies, and specifically this one, it's called A Universe of Wishes, absolutely belongs in a classroom. Not all of the stories in here are appropriate for class-wide consumption because of content, because of language, but many are. And they will enrich a classroom discussion like mine for looking at fantasy and looking at escape. It's not just looking at the Eurocentric fantasy genre that I really do love, but also I see the holes. I see where we are lacking. It's got more diverse perspectives and how magic and fantasy and the escapism that comes with this genre really is multicultural. Like it really is a worldwide phenomenon that human beings look for escape, especially in our entertainment. And so A Universe of Wishes is a great anthology of short stories. And so that's going to be going into my classroom. I'm going to actually be hitting up some of the parents on my email list to see if they will donate copies so that I can have a little bit closer to a class set and do things on the up and up when it comes to distributing the literature to my students. But yeah, Universe of Wishes. We need diverse books.
That.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We were talking before recording a little bit kind of about the benefits of adding collections or short story anthologies to our classroom libraries. I think it's really nice to have those kinds of options available for kids, especially the kids who are like maybe in between books or just needed to read something just that one day. It's nice that you can offer them something that's that length and potentially, right, a gateway drug into more of that author or more of that genre.
Well, and like for those of you who are familiar with Fresh Ink, which is it like gained in popularity, gosh, like a few years ago. This is the same.
Yeah.
That's We Need Diverse Books. That's the same people. And so it's the same kind of a vein. And this is definitely like a high school level. There are other ones that are more suited to like middle grades, but this one's A Universe of Wishes is going into my classroom library.
Yay!
Okay, Amanda, why don't you tell the people what they've won? Because 3 teachers wanted to talk about this book.
Okay, and I really was like, this is old. Like we've talked about it before, but I hadn't yet read it. And so I was like hesitating, and I can't believe the two of you were on the same page.
Yes.
It's wild. So for me, my absolutely needs to be in a classroom library. Get it in there now is House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune.
Yep.
I just am finishing it right now, the audiobook, and it's been recommended to me 1,000 times. I've actually read other TJ Klune books, but I hadn't actually sat down to finish this one. It is amazing.
Yep.
It is amazing for all of the, like, I listened to it, of course, and I felt like I was listening to a round table, like it was actors sitting at a table reading a script. I mean, this is going to be a movie. I don't know how it could.
Oh, you listened to the fully produced audio. I didn't realize that.
No, I didn't. It's I'm listening to whatever is on my phone. Whatever's on Hoopla. I'm on Hoopla right now.
So many words that you just said that I only followed like 30% of that. What?
Hoopla is Libby. It's like another Libby.
Oh. Okay. I thought you were making things
but
up.
No, you don't have Hoopla?
Will you please stop saying that?
No, because how do you not have it? It's like it's your backup when your Libby is not doing the Libbies.
I think I've got some Hoopla, but that's like a different podcast,
all right.
You know?
So I'm in library card jail right now. Shocker to anyone listening on the podcast. We have a missing book. I can't find it.
Way to bury the lead on this one. Okay. You have kept the people thinking incorrectly. You have been falsifying our belief that you are a responsible library card carrier when in fact you're a repeat offender.
I am.
Yeah.
I am. I can't find it. And it's my daughter's fault.
Blame the 5-year-old.
Blaming the children.
Yes. We cannot find a Baby Shark board book. And we have a bin that is only for library books, and she did not put it back. It's got to be mixed in with other books somewhere. Sure. But anyway, there are no more renewals left. And so my library card has been suspended, which means I cannot check out any more books on Libby, but Hoopla hasn't caught up to that yet. So I keep, but every now and again, Libby asks you to re-enter your library card. And I'm like, you rude SOB. And I did. And it's like, you can't get any more books. Anyway, TJ Klune is incredible. Okay. And House in the Cerulean Sea is an adventure. It is, I think the reason that came to mind for me is it's an every kid book.
Yeah.
You know how like some books are so like niche down to like a genre or a just like a style, like one kid prefers over another. I feel like Cerulean Sea has something in it for everyone. Like it's got the magic and the fantasy, but not so much that it's like a turnoff if you're not a fantasy kid. It's got male voices, female voices, mysterious creature voices. It's got humor. It's hilarious. It's sad. It's tragic. It's dystopian, oppressive, regime without it feeling like, it's not Hunger Games.
Right.
So it's got so much of everything. And I think that's a really great, like, I could suggest this to a lot of kids kind of a book that I would like to grow. Like, what are those titles? Like having those on their own shelf. It is for sure one of them. It's so charming. I love it.
It is. Charming is the word. It's cozy and charming and sweet. It's the reason that I was going to choose it is because it's actually on my choice list for the fantasy novels that I was talking about. It's one of the ones that, like, it takes kids a minute to get into it because it does have a certain stylistic sensibility, right? Yeah. Megan, tell us what you're doing.
I was paying my. It starts out because it's trying to build to the dramatic, like, change in the guy's life. So it just starts with his mundaneness.
Yeah.
And it reads real mundane in the beginning.
Like,
so it's hard.
Right. Like on purpose. And so it took me a minute too. I wonder if listening to it would be different because reading it at the very beginning, I was like, okay, everybody says this is so good. And then
the actor does voices. So it's not, I don't know that it's fully produced, but the voice actor is doing voices and they're delightful.
Okay.
And in the beginning, though, in the audio, though, he's bored with his life.
Yes. Right. I mean, that's the point, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so in the very beginning, his voice is very bored with it. He's talking about looking at the picture.
Yep.
It's like, okay, guy, move on.
Yeah. And then you do. And then you move on, you move with him. And I mean, all the comments about his cat, I mean, like Calliope.
I know.
He keeps trying to ditch the cat, but never will. And I think that like that tongue-in-cheekness, I don't know. For me, like, I also think that this is an all-class novel. I would absolutely write a unit on this novel as soon as I possibly freaking can. The list is so long because it has a lot of nuance, right? I think that kids could read it in a classroom library at a very like plot level and enjoy it. But it could also be studied, I think, as a literary work. I mean, very, very well in terms of, I mean, it has a lot of opportunity for teaching. I'm excited to look more into it and talk to you guys about it more.
Yes. And what's more exciting is that there's a sequel.
I know.
Yes, there is.
There's a book too, and it releases like in just a couple days. That's why I was going to bring it up, because on Libro, it's there. And I got it for free this month, so I was really excited.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, you did. That's really exciting. I know. I need to get my educator account on Libro. We're going to talk about that in a future episode, friends, because that is a very exciting twist of events.
Well, and there's a lot of other TJ Klune stuff out there. Like, I just finished Wolf Song over the summer, and I loved it. But that one's a little bit more like a little heavier on the fantasy, which is fine. But like, it's in terms of classroom library, like, it depends on what you need. This one of all of his pieces, I think, is the most, I don't know, a lot of kids would get into it.
Oh, my students have loved it when they've read it in class.
Yep.
Yes, like absolutely loved it. And they've had the same comments of like a little slow at the beginning. I'm like, I know, keep going. Trust me, because it's, you just warms your heart, these characters. Yes.
Yes. And if you're doing the other reason I thought about it, now it's coming back to me, is Marie and I have talked about several times on the podcast doing a unit on monsters or villains. This is another great way to kind of upend the narrative behind what is a monster, who are the monsters for real, the twisted fairy tale thing. I mean, we've talked a lot about that. That is a very powerful thread that you could use in this text if you were to do something with it outside of the classroom library.
Absolutely. All right, friends. So those are our top 3 suggestions for books that you need to add to your classroom library. Like Amanda said, we will have more in the show notes. We will have more on social media as much as we possibly can. And if you have suggestions, send them our way, because we like to share broadly as much as we possibly can. Megan, thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
Thanks for having me on. It's been so much fun.
I know, it really is.
I love geeking out over books.
I know. And honestly, we do this over our like voice memo app all the time, the three of us. And so doing it with our like BNT community is fun too. Welcome to the conversation, everybody. Yeah. It's like they're all part of the group chat. Okay, friends, we hope you have a wonderful week at school. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Bye. Thanks again for listening to Brave New Teaching.
We'd love to keep the conversation going over on Instagram.
And while you're there, check out the links in our bio for the most up-to-date events going on in the Brave New Teaching community.
Thanks for being here and have a great week at school.